Hi everyone, Merry Christmas and welcome back to another HOI4 guide. Many of you who watched my content before knows that I love the Navy game of HOI4, but in particular the raiding game. But recently we've been making quite a lot of air guides, me and Boppes, and what popped up, I think it was last week or the week before, when I made a Patreon exclusive guide on how to successfully bomb your opponent. I realized something amazing, and that is that log striking is pretty much convoy raiding on land, and you can use it in a similar way. So now I'm all over the air game, and in this guide I will focus on proving that point to you guys. So how to properly log strike your opponent with inspiration from the Navy side. So I hope you guys will enjoy it. All right, so before throwing ourselves into some examples on how to go about log striking your opponent, there are two things we need to just clear out first. And the first one is that if you log strike your opponent, what you want to achieve is basically this one to go down to 0, the logistics fulfillment or supply fulfillment. And that is determined by the number of trains and trucks the opponent have in stockpile, because those are the pool that's needed to supply the troops in field, or not only troops, but also Navy and Air Force of the enemy. So if they have no trains left or no trucks left, they will have 0 supply fulfillment, pretty much. So that's what we're aiming for. So this one to go down to 0. And in order to do that, what you do is that you use the air mission. Let's take some close air support here, called Logistics Strike. And it's tactical bombers and close air support that can use this air mission type. With that said, it's the stat that's called ground attack. That's the stat we're looking for. That means that CAS is better at log striking than tacticals, but tacticals have longer range than CAS. So they both fill a very valuable role in doing this. All right, so let's start by talking about how to find your targets, or how to pick your targets. Because if we use the comparison to Navy, when you convoy raid someone, you want to find the convoy routes with the most convoys used in those routes, because those are the big prizes that you want to attack, because that's how you quickest starve your enemy and sink a lot of convoys. The same logic goes to supply when it comes to trucks and trains. You basically want to find the supply hubs that are using the most supply, the most trains and the most trucks. So with that said, let's have a look at France as for starters, because those are the first one out on our campaign here. So if we look at the supply map mode, we see that there are some different supply hubs using some supply, right? So this one is using 6 out of 20 in supply. And if we hover that one, we see that it is right now using 30 trucks, but it's also using 6 trains right now. So this is a good target. And this target is in the northern France air zone. So that's the zone we want to bomb in order to hit targets from this supply hub. But we're also going to hit everything else in this zone. So it's a good zone to attack, in other words. However, right now we see that this supply hub has a motorization symbol on it. And that's either because the motorization grade is up here, but it isn't, it was on this level. Then some of the divisions have, here you go. So if this would be on a horse instead, and if we unpause, I'm pretty sure, now it doesn't use any trucks anymore. So only trains. But trains will always be used if there are troops close to a supply hub. And in some ways, it's better if there's no motorization levels activated, because then it's only trains that our CAS will find, and trains are more expensive and take longer time to build. So if we can bomb the trains first, that's just good for us. But either way, if there's also motorization activated, there's also trucks to be found, and then we bomb them as well. So that's good either way. But that's basically what we want to find when we're gonna bomb our opponent. So find an air zone with a lot of trucks and trains active in that zone. And you can. Before the next one, I just want to say that we release a guide every Monday. So if you subscribe, you will get it automatically in your notification feed. And if you're awesome, you can also become a patron, and then you'll access a full archive of Patreon exclusive guides. Check it out in the comment field below.
No, the description field is called. Yeah, let's continue.
Okay, so let's talk about some priority targets, and then let's run some tests and see what happens. So when I think about log striking, and this is quite new to me, so bear with me, I think about different prioritizations of targets. So the ideal target in my world is if you can log strike the opponent's capital, that air zone where the capital is, that's usually the best target to bomb. So in this case, it would be northern France for if you're going to bomb France, because in this zone there are so many trains going out of the capital to supply hubs close by. So it will always be a lot of trains in circulation around the capital. The same would go for southern England, ideal target. Or, for example, if you're Germany attacking the Russians around Moscow, that would also be a very good target, for example. So that would be the ideal target. Are you able to bomb the capital and that air zone? Do it, because there's usually a lot of good targets around there. If the enemy has a lot of air up or you can't reach the capital, then a second priority target would be the weak link, so to speak, of the enemy. And let's say you're Germany again and you wanna log strike the shit out of the UK. So where can you log strike them without them be able to stop you? Then an ideal target could be something like Gibraltar, or it could be Malta, or it could be Cyprus. If they have troops down here to defend, and we can swap over to the UK and do like this. Let's see. Yeah, let's do it like this. Yeah, so now you see that this supply hub is using 60 trucks. If it would be like this, then we could easily bomb this and they couldn't do much. They won't be able to do much about it. Even if they upgrade their airfield, we could still, as Axis, have much more air up there and we could easily bomb them without them being able to stop us, basically. And then we could just continue to log strike them on and on and on and on until they either give up the territory and give it to us, or they run out of trucks in this case, but probably also, no trains because there's no railway here, but trucks in this case. So Cyprus or like North Africa could be better if you also want to find trains, but it's basically the idea is find a weak spot where the enemy can't really defend themselves, but they still need supply going into that place, and then you can log strike them. And they can't do much about it. So the third prioritized target I would go for would be the front line section of the enemy where there's a lot of concentration of troops. If we would attack the Eastern Front as Germany, it would be Ukraine, Belarus, and Novgorod. Those would probably be the ideal zones where there's a lot of concentration of troops, i.e. a lot of supply going into those regions, which means there's a lot of log striking to be done. If you could sneak above them and log strike Moscow, that would probably still be worth it. But, as a priority number 3, pick the section of the front line. If you're able to bomb it, where there are a lot of supply being used. So those are the 3 scenarios I would aim for. So let's run some testing. Let's start by scenario number 1. Let's bomb France, which is also scenario number 3, to be honest, because this air zone is also the front line section. But let's just put up 500 CAS in the air to log strike. This click here, and we have some fighters in the air to cover us as well. We have them on the. Let's move them. Yeah, they will probably have okay efficiency. Yeah. So. Let's do a little bit slower. Click on the zone and unpause. So now we see that the French player is losing trains really quick, but no trucks right now because there's 0 level of motorization happening in France right now. So let's just, which is not that likely, the AI or a player would probably have motorization activated. So let's do that as well on some of the armies, just to paint a more realistic picture. Let's go back to Germany and unpause. So there we go. Now we see that trucks and trains are being lost at a quite rapid pace. Right now we're only looking at February, couple of days. Let's run it quicker. So it goes really quick bombing down the enemy. Right now, of course, he's not defending himself with with an air force. But let's just go on the intel ledger to see what's happening. And we see it's starting to drop a little bit. But the second the trains go down to 0, he will be in big trouble. Or the trucks, of course, if he has motorization activated. Yeah, you can see this goes really quick. So I think at this pace, we're in March now. We've been doing this for a month, roughly. Yeah. So in 1 month, we bombed 48 trains and 200 trucks. So you can see the stockpile burns down really quick. So by doing this in, what is it, like 3 months' time, he would be completely starved, the French player. And then it would be just like a walking victory straight to Paris. He won't be able to properly supply his troops. He will still, of course, have local supply, but he won't be able to get supplies enough to field a proper army to defend himself. So, yeah, now he's down. We're in April, 2 months in, he's down to 26% supply fulfillment, and he will be in real trouble real quick. So that was scenario number 1, bombing the capital. So let's do, and the same would happen if I would bomb London. All right, so let's move on to target priority number 2. And that is finding a weak spot of your enemy and bomb that one to smithereens. So now we're playing with the idea that we control this piece of land here in North Africa as Germany, but it could just be that we are allied with Spain and bomb from that angle. But we're basically going to bomb Gibraltar. And Gibraltar right now has 4 divisions defending it, and they also have some motorization to get supplies in here, which is a likely scenario, because if you would stack Gibraltar and actually try to defend it, you would need probably more troops than this, and you would need a high motorization grid to get supplies getting in, since it's all concentrated in one tile. So this is what we will bomb, and we see now that the UK, they have 353 trains in stockpile and roughly 700 trucks. But need 60 trucks to supply this tile here. So let's see what happens if we start bombing this. Log striking, activated, and then we go. And you can see here now, I already did it a little bit before, but we see here now that we're keeping a pace of bombing roughly per month. We're roughly bombing 200 trucks a month. No, sorry, roughly 100 a month. So we're keeping this pace of 90 plus every month, which is quite aggressively considering the UK only had 700 in stockpile. So if we let this roll a little bit, and then we swap over to the UK, we can see that the stockpile is now down to 650, and that's also because the UK is building some trucks constantly, so that's counterweighting it a little bit. But we basically would be burning down this stockpile quite quick, considering it's 90 a month right now, by only bombing a small place like Gibraltar. And of course, it's quite overkill with the number of planes we're using to do it right now. But that gives you an idea of, you find some weak spot of the enemy, and you can just naggingly just grind down the enemy stockpiles, and he has to defend it if you want to keep that piece of territory. If not, he has to move away and give us a territory. So find the weak spots and make the most out of it. All right, so the last example and priority target would be to find a busy frontline section of the enemy where they use a lot of motorization, a lot of trucks, so there's plenty of targets to shoot down, basically. And we will go back to the Northern France section that we started with. But this time around, I've done some modifications to France. So what we've done is that we've taken the whole army and put it on high motorization priority. This means that all the supply hubs where we have units, they will pull full capacity of trucks. We also added some trucks to the stockpile. So right now we have 1,600 trucks in the stockpile. And we actually, as you can see now, we need 1,100 trucks to properly supply this entire army, which is a more likely scenario when you play against a fully equipped enemy, like attacking the Soviet Union or attacking France in a multiplayer or single player game. So let's go back to Germany. Let's take the entire Air Force, all the CAS, all the tacticals, 1,500 planes, and let's go and see what happens. So let's look at day by day. So, and we can see now that it's just taking off, the number of trucks getting shot down. Because right now we are looking at a monthly view. So when this flattens out, that's the number of trucks we kill in 1 month, which is, yeah, you see, it's crazy. So, yeah, I mean, we're basically killing everything he has in 1 month's time, which is quite dramatically. And you see the number of damage we have here when we use all the 1,500 planes. So if we take a look at France now, at logistics, he's down, yeah, 300 trucks left out of what he started with 1,600 in no time. So that's how quick it can go if the enemy is properly motorized and you have a proper air force just log tracking him to smithereens. So his supply fulfillment was down to 24% in no time as well. So it goes real quick. All right, that was everything I wanted to show you guys regarding log striking the opponent with some different priority targets. And just some reflections and conclusions from the end. Even though you log strike your enemy properly and he has 0 supply fulfillment, units can still have some supply based on something called local supply. So being close to a big city or something like that still gives the unit some supply. That being said, that's never enough for having a proper army fielded or a proper navy or an air force in the field. So if you completely log strike the enemy down to 0% logistics or supply fulfillment, it will be really easy to run that enemy properly over. So it's kind of like getting rid of all the convoy route or the convoys of an enemy. He can't really supply anything outside of his capital after that. So food for thought using log strike. But me, for example, I will definitely use this more in the future, and there's a lot of fun you can do with log striking. And those were just 3 examples I showed you today. So I hope everyone will start using it a little bit more and in some fun ways. I hope you liked the guide, and Merry Christmas once again, and see you on the new year.